The story begins with a young man lying unconscious on a grassy field. As he awoke, he wondered where he was and realized that he was probably not in Japan or even Earth, and he could not even remember his own name. At that moment, he saw a translucent screen before him and heard a voice welcoming him to his new world. The voice further explained to him that, due to some selection process, he has been granted the right to transmigrate into another world. Then the voice told him that he currently does not have any memories of his previous life, but he should be rest assured because he gave his consent before he was brought over to this world. Hearing this, he got agitated, but the voice did not mind and told him that this new world is a fantasy world filled with special weapons and magic, and that he should check his status screen to see the details of the skills he possesses. Checking his status window, he discovered that his name is Kelvin, that he is of the summoner class, and that his skills such as summoning and analyzing eyes are both of the S rank, while his green magic skill is of the F rank. The voice then told Kelvin that he was the one who chose these skills by allocating a set number of skill points. Kelvin, thinking he has no memory of that, decided to check out what those skills actually do, and he found out that with his summoning skill, which was S rank, he has the ability to take on followers by establishing a contract, and his Analyze Eye gave him the ability to read a target's status, and he can use his ability on living beings and items that are yet to be analyzed. Kelvin also discovered that his F rank skill, Green Magic, allowed him to manipulate earth and wind, and he also saw some skills, such as double growth rate, double skill points, and experience sharing, that will help his growth and leveling up. Following that, he asked the voice about how summoning works, and he learned that at the moment a contract is established, his followers will be transformed into magical entities and they will be assimilated into his pool. After understanding how summoning works, Kelvin thanked the voice, which he had named Menu-san, for the explanation. Menu-san then asked Kelvin how he felt about heading to the nearest town so he could register at the Adventurers Guild in the town. Surprisingly, Kelvin told Menu-san that when they talk, he feels like he's talking to a real person, and he asked if Menu-san will also be coming along with him to the town. Hearing that Menu-san showed him her status, Kevin saw that her name was Melfina, but he could not see anything apart from the name. Melfina then told him that meeting him was the first time she saw a person bold enough to ask a goddess to become his follower, and she teased him that he has to take responsibility as her darling. As Kelvin heard all these, he wondered what had happened before he was transmigrated. On his way to the town, Melfina told him that he exchanged his memories for more skill points, and then he pressed the goddess of reincarnation for a contract, telling her he had fallen in love with her and that even without his memories he would still fall in love with her. Then Kelvin asked if he could summon her since they were contracted, but Melfina replied that he cannot at the moment since he does not have the magic power to summon her. Kelvin then decided to gain enough levels so he would be able to summon Melfina. On getting to the town, he went to the Adventurers Guild building and registered as a rank F adventurer. Melfina then asked him why he wrote a green mage as his class, and Kelvin then replied that since he was aware that summoners are rare, he wanted to enjoy this fantasy world without any trouble. Following that, he asked the receptionist that registered him how the guild's system works, which she did and told him the 4 types of quests that he could do as an adventurer, which were subjugation, bodyguard, harvesting, and unique, and that after he completes 10 quests in a row he could be promoted to the next rank. Later, Kelvin was seen fighting a slime as he had accepted a quest to subjugate 3 slimes. He had a wooden rod with him that he bought with the last of his money. This rod was unable to deal any physical damage, but it contained some magic that he could still use. As he was fighting the slime, Melfina told him to use his Analyze Eye on the slime, which he did. And Melfina told him that monsters that do not understand words needed to be weakened before they were willing to submit, and if he activates the contract at that moment, the monster will consent. Kelvin then decided to give it a try, and as he activated the contract, he felt something leaving his body, which Melfina told him was probably due to him using a large amount of MP all at once and that attempting to establish a contract drains half of a person's MP, regardless of whether they are successful or not. After successfully establishing the contract with the slime, he gave the slime the name Clotho, and he realized that he could feel Clotho's feelings directly. Melfina then explained to him that he could telepathically communicate with his follower, and Kelvin summoned Clotho so that they could subjugate the rest of the slime as they fought. Kelvin noticed that Clotho's speed and powers have increased, and Melfina told him to check out Clotho's status again with his analyzer eye. Upon checking, he was shocked to discover that all of Clotho's stats have increased tremendously. After completing the quest, he received his reward and thought to himself that being an adventurer might really suit him since he had more than enough money to find an inn for the night. On his way to the inn, he saw a half-elf that was being displayed by a merchant as a slave for sale. He wanted to act, but suddenly ignored what he was and left. As Kelvin was completing a quest, he discovered he had leveled up, and Melfina told him to check his skill tab in the user interface, and she also informed him that skill points can be used to acquire new skills. Kelvin then asks her if everyone in this world has knowledge about the user interface, to which she confirmed his assumption and told him that they only have to call for status inside their minds to bring up the user interface. However, for someone to read another person's status, one must have the analyze eye. After checking his status, he revealed that due to his double growth rate and double skill points abilities, he has become more powerful and now has over 100 skill points. Following that, he decided to check out the skill tab only to find out that there were a lot of skills he could get. After checking the skills out, he discovered that the skill points required to buy an F-rank skill were 10 SP, which was so low. Then, Melfina explained to him that his circumstances were special and that was why he had more than enough skill points, whereas for other people they could only get skill points as they leveled up. Kelvin then decided to choose the concealment skill so that he could hide the information about his rare skill. He then leveled it up to rank D with 70 SP, and he also saw that Clotho had also leveled up and also had a new skill called Absorption, which it can use to absorb magic and convert it into energy. After this, Kelvin became overconfident in his abilities since he was able to complete the quest easily. Melfina then informed him not to be overconfident and that there are some abnormally powerful individuals who may have evolved into higher-level beings. Hearing this, Kelvin asks her if all monsters evolve when they reach a higher level, but Melfina replies that level is not the only condition for evolution, and he decided to quickly level up. Sometimes later, Kelvin was congratulated by the receptionist at the Adventurer Guild building for having completed 10 quests in a row, and she informed him that he had been promoted to rank E. She then proceeded to ask him if he had served as a court mage in another country before since he could rank up within a week, and was doing quests that were above his rank, but Kelvin made up an excuse and told her he could not go into details. The lady apologized for prying into his personal life. Kelvin then asks her if he could now start taking rank D quests, to which the lady replied that he could, but she advised him to at least get some new equipment since he was still using the old wooden rod. At that moment, a young man in armor entered and told him that if he was looking for a rank D quest, he should join him on the Black Spirit Subjugation quest. As soon as this young man said this, the receptionist was startled, and she addressed him as a Cashel, then asked him how his previous quest went. Cashel replied that she must ask him, and he told her he had completed it without any hitches. Kelvin then interrupted them and asked who he was, and Cashel then introduced himself as Cashel and a rank D adventurer, but Kelvin, who had used the Analyze Eye, saw that he has the strength of a rank B and also the title Murderer. The other adventurer noticed that Cashel was speaking with the newcomer, and they wondered if they should give Kelvin some heads up concerning Cashel, but Cashel stared at them and they all fell back since there was no one that was stronger than Cashel. The receptionist tried to stop Cashel by telling him that Kelvin just leveled up to rank E, but Cashel replied that he and his party would be able to protect Kelvin should anything happen. However, Kelvin thanked Cashel for the offer and told him that he does not intend on joining his party. Hearing this, Cashel taunted him for being scared, but Kelvin continued and told him that he would instead be taking on the quest himself. Kelvin proposes that they compete to see who will defeat the Black Spirit Knight first. After Cashel left, Melfina asked Kelvin if he really wanted to complete the quest, and he replied that he knew that it was probably a trap since no one with a title like a murderer will be a decent person, but he would use this opportunity to test himself. Getting to an alley, Cashel met up with his party members, Raji and Gimel, and he asked what their thoughts on Kelvin were. Gimel replied and told him that since he could not see Kelvin's status with his own status viewing eye, which was at rank C, then Kelvin might be a bigger fish than they expected. However, Raji got agitated on hearing this and he planned on fighting Kelvin first, but he was stopped by Cashel and Gimel who told him to calm down. At the Rank D dungeon, the ancient castle of evil spirits, Cashel and his party members got there and were shocked to discover that all the undead had been taken care of, and they knew that it was probably Kelvin's doing. At that moment, Kelvin called their attention and told them that the Black Spirit Knight is behind a particular door, but Cashel asked him why he did not fight the Black Spirit Knight since they are competing. However, Raji concluded that maybe he realized that he could not defeat the Black Spirit Knight on his own and was waiting to team up with them. But Kelvin replied that he still had the intention of winning the competition, but since he was aware that he was their target, he waited so that they could conclude their fight before the winner fights the boss. Realizing that Kelvin was aware of their plan, Cashel asked him if he was a guild hire or if he came for Raji's bounty. This made Raji conclude that Kelvin was a bounty hunter, and that was why Kelvin used a concealment skill of higher rank. Then Kelvin taunted Raji to attack him, which Raji rushed toward him to do, only to find himself in a trap laid by Kelvin. Raji tried breaking free from the trap, but Kelvin did not allow him to. Seeing this happen, Gilmal tried to run away, but he was stopped by Clotho, who is now at level 12 and also has the title, Slime Gluttonia. Gilmal was unable to move after seeing the gigantic slime due to shock, and Clotho used the Devourer skill on him.